What could be worse than finding out that you inadvertently endangered the multiverse, except to find out that when the chips are down, you'd be a bad guy? Miles Morales faced that in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, but thanks to some test footage, things might not be quite as they seem.
Or maybe not.
Across the Spider-Verse managed to make one thing clear. Even something as wholesome as saving your reality can have unintended consequences that could be even worse, like destroying the entire multiverse. In Miles' defense, destroying the multiverse is kinda all the rage these days. Peter Parker and Doctor Strange from Earth 199999, it's a lot of nines, they did it in No Way Home. Even over at the distinguished competition, The Flash has been mucking up the multiverse on the big screen and the small screen for quite a while now. Miles managed to up the ante by not understanding just how important tragedy is in being Spider-Man. You have to lose an uncle/mentor, you have to lose a captain. Apparently, if you're not Gwen Stacy, you have to lose a Gwen Stacy. Even though all the Spider-Folks are pretty quippy, that hides a mountain of sadness.
May God be with you. Next!
So while Miles broke the multiverse by saving his own universe, he managed to break it even more by saving Spider-Man India's captain, keeping his life, so far, tragedy-free. To make matters even worse, Miles found out that he wasn't even supposed to be bitten by a radioactive spider. He intercepted it from Earth 42, it was meant for someone else. So now he borked Earth 42 because it never got its Spider-Man. The nice cherry on top of all of that is that it means that his counterpart on Earth 42 followed in his uncle's footsteps and became the villainous Prowler. That's rough. All of us have to wait until the 2024 release of Beyond the Spider-Verse to know how all of this plays out for Miles and his cadre of sympathetic Spider-Folk that he teamed up with in Into the Spider-Verse. But co-director Kemp Powers has decided to not rest on the laurels of having the coolest name and release some early test animatics for Across the Spider-Verse. Animatics are basically just motion storyboards that give a rough idea of what a scene would look like in motion. The scene in question shows some early concepts for what life was like for Miles G Morales of Earth 42 without a Spider-Man. The most notable difference is that he wasn't distinguished by his middle initial like Miles' Spider-Man mentor Peter B. Parker, but instead had adopted the Wario school of alternates and became known as Wiles Morales. Why not Wiles Morales or Miles Morales?
I don't know why I said that.
The test footage shows Prowler Miles' uncle training and cooperating with Miles on a heist, with the Spider-Verse movie's signature beautifully coordinated chase scenes. Technology replaces spider powers and creates different solutions for Spidey gadgets. Natural stickiness, common in your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, is just replicated by suction boots. There's gotta be a better name than suction boots. That sounds really off-putting. Batman-style cable shooting and mountain climbing equipment replaced web slinging. There's even a brief moment with the Leap of Faith scene from Into the Spider-Verse, otherwise known as the best sequence in a superhero movie ever. Fight me. Aside from briefly considering going by Wiles Morales, it wouldn't seem like there are too many surprises here. The released version of Across the Spider-Verse reveals that Miles G had adopted the Prowler personality in the absence of a Spider-Man. But there's a few clues in there that suggested that while Miles G is more dour and serious, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's gone to the dark side. Remember, usually your evil alternatives have a wicked-looking beard. Braids may not be a substitution. First of all is the thing that they were trying to hammer home to Miles after he saved the captain in Spider-Man India's world. Losing a captain, Stacy or otherwise, is a key part of the tragedy cocktail that goes with being a Spider-Person. Miles is so opposed to the idea that he managed to run from a full multiverse of Spider people just to prevent his captain father's death. But as Miguel O'Hara and the rest of these wall crawlers stress, these losses are what shape Spider-Folk and give them the sense of responsibility that teaches them how to apply those gifts. Well, Miles G did lose his father, and while he's gone Prowler purple, the unused footage indicates being a villain is a matter of perspective. At the end of the sequence, we find out that what Miles and his uncle have stolen are medical items of some importance, and they drop off the very organ donor looking bag on the windowsill of a hospital for Miles' mom. Sure, they're stealing, but it looks like they're stealing valuable medical supplies that appear hoarded so that regular hospitals are left wanting. In the book Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the art of the movie, Miles G Morales is listed as a vigilante, the same thing that Spider-Man is. technically. Superhero vigilantes that are fighting an oppressive system are numerous enough to be their own category. V's enemy in V for Vendetta was the state itself. Even pre-comic vigilantes would fight the power, so to speak, with characters like Zorro fighting the corrupt governors. It seems like the lack of a Spider-Man might not mean that Miles went to the dark side without Spider-Man, but rather the world itself. Without a Spider-Man to give people hope and the desire to fight the good fight, the world itself went to the dark side, where vigilantes have to steal life-saving medical supplies from well-guarded and armed facilities. Whether that plays out in Beyond the Spider-Verse remains to be seen. We could maybe even see this sequence show up in the future movie, though the release of the footage would probably indicate that they have other plans. But it seems rather consistent that whatever those plans are, the result might just be that when it comes down to it, Miles is a decent guy, no matter what the situation, and it isn't tragedy that shapes him into a better person. All that's just some sad stuff that happens that can be a burden.
Really? Really? Really?
The big reveal would be that because of Miles' shenanigans in Earth 42 and Earth 1610, that the reason that Earth 688, what Across the Spider-Verse dubbed the Venom Morbius reality, has Spider-Man villains but no Spider-Man. Bonus if that also sets up a live-action Miles Morales for the Sonyverse.
Consider yourself lucky to be here.